I think it's fair points that he raised, and it might be worth trying to use those arguments in the future. Which you've raised, of course, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yes. So I now confirm that it is now stepped into 7:40.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the Sidlesham Parish Council meeting, not planning, of the 11th of February. All members of the council are reminded that this meeting is being recorded and in this particular case it is being filmed. Absence as per the planning meeting are Karina, Mary, Nick and so far Donna, but I'm told she'll be arriving later. Declaration by council of personal interest in items on this agenda.
No.
Right. Questions from the public? Except items on the agenda.
I think we all assume that you will raise and discuss the flooding situation.
I'm sure we will.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Minutes
Minutes of the last council meeting. Can I have someone to approve them? Second them. Matters arising from the above minutes not dealt with in separate items below. I don't think there are any, but we will discover. Item C. West Sussex County Council, Peter Montague.
Chairman, thank you very much and good evening.
Yeah.
Quite a few things, I guess, to discuss.
Yeah.
So I first mentioned that the government has let it be known that the combined county authority will be formed in May. That's going to happen. So we will be a legal entity sometime in May, with the mayor election deferred until 28. So that now having been confirmed by the government that will happen in May. I don't know exactly which date it will be in May. Work is going on between the three, between West Sussex, East Sussex and Brighton and Hove, to make the most of that in the anticipated legal creation, to draw the maximum benefit from it. And what that still leaves open is whether there will be one or more unitary authorities. We still don't know, but again, loosely described as being in March, so the government has said. So that will be ahead of the formation of the legal entity, which does make some sense. So that's on that one. But meanwhile, of course, and I've mentioned that here last time, it's budget time. And so that budget is now pretty well short of it being set in stone. That won't happen until the full council meeting next Friday week, the 20th. But the figures have now been set, and it might interest you, I think, at least to know what's happening on, shall we say, on the high. Looking at the revenue budget, so that's the daily spend as opposed to capital outlay. And just keep this figure in your mind so you get a feeling for the entity. The total net expenditure by the county council across the county will be 882 million. Out of that, highways is 47 million. Highways and transport net expenditure. So it doesn't even decide any further grants and income there might be. So it's 47 out of 882 gives you the feeling for the size. By far and away the largest, and I've mentioned this before, is adult services and children and young people. Between them, they take about 65% of that 882. And they continue to do that as soon as they are. We will have increased, when this gets agreed next week, we will have increased the budget by about 65 million. So 65 out of 880, that's the sort of amount that's been increased by. It will be balanced, of course. It has been made extremely difficult by the fact that the government, in its grants, has actually reduced the grant by 30 million pounds over the next 3 years, and that money goes to other places they consider more needy than our own. So it's been very difficult, but that hasn't been achieved. But we can't only achieve it by agreeing the council tax increase, and the government assume that that will happen, and that's what their calculations are based on. And so that will be as before, just about 5%, which is 3% is for the general fund and 2% is for adults. But I emphasise, it has not yet been agreed by the county council. We'll just bear that in mind if you put that in the minutes. That is not going to come to the county council until Friday week, the 20th. But those are the figures that are going to be presented there. And no doubt some people want to make some amendments to it, but I don't think it's going to change anything than what's being proposed here. So that's the revenue budget. Now, the capital budget in highways is very important, and that's always a running, as you can imagine, it's not just 1 year, it rotates, and some things are known as in flight. And so the capital budget for the coming year, which is like for highways, is 56,500,000. So that over the next 5 years, which is always forward. The total expenditure and capital expenditure over the next 5 years will be 308 million, nearly 309 million. So that's for highways, and that's quite apart from all sorts of other things around the county. But the highways one is quite an important one, which we're all very interested in, I'm sure. So I don't know whether you have any other questions about that, but that's really all I can say in anticipation of the council meeting Friday on week. I don't know what you have other things on your agenda, so I'll wait and see what you say and then I'll see what I can help.
Well, I think a fair number of the public here want to discuss the problems of flooding that we've had in Sidlesham, with among ourselves, and obviously as your WSCC representative, possibly you could tell us.
Well, I'll listen to that and see what I can say.
Who wants to fire a question? I have to say, I think on some of the job we work WSCC has worked very hard to try and rectify very difficult problems.
Together with the Environment Agency.
Yeah. Also, I think possibly that's with Southern Water. I know we've written to Southern Water about the problem, obviously, at the Esso service station.
Well, I've taken that up separately. I don't regard that as part of the flooding problems. Well, it's a flooding problem, but it's not part of the rain cause.
No.
It's a separate issue. But as a result of, I'm running a bit ahead of myself, but as a result of everything that's gone on the last couple of weeks, that one has actually not had as much attention as I'd like it to have, and I've been pursuing that again today.
Yeah. Okay, great. I thought that problem had been solved.
Well, that's
particular
right.
one.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But it's something's
Obviously
gone,
not.
something's gone wrong again.
Yeah. Okay.
But with all the flooding going on, which we're about to discuss, that one has been, it's the same officer, so that one's hasn't pulled out of their attention, but it's had to take second place.
Yeah.
But I picked that up again today.
Okay.
Maybe just on behalf of some of my neighbours and stuff, maybe we could just ask kind of a general question about overall responsibility. Clearly there was an incident. It lasted for 7 days. I think it was on the 5th or 6th day that the actual culvert that was blocked was unblocked by, I believe, some of the residents.
Yeah.
So it took a long time, whilst of course with what we noted, where it was the fire brigade, I believe, were out, the Environment Agency were out, etc., etc. But it still took quite a long time to fix the incident. And then I guess for all of us, the question is, how do we prevent this? Who is coordinating the overall responsibility? Well, I'm sure residents have specific responsibilities around their properties. There are also parts of the RIFE, etc., that they won't be able to, and I assume don't have responsibility for clearing, etc. So is there a group, or is there a response in terms of who's coordinating that, and can help us understand what will happen next?
During this process of looking at our flood, Nick has done an awful lot of work of researching who's responsible for what. The RIFE, albeit sometimes runs doesn't run because it's dry. It is classified as a main
It's
river,
main river.
Yeah.
and the Environment Agency has jurisdiction over main rivers. That's the opening statement, that's the key point. But then Nick has produced quite a fulsome who's responsible for what, etc., until we get down to highways and eventually the riparian duties of landowners. And with
The landowner is anybody who has access to land by the road.
a ditch or anything running in there,
That's right.
boundaries and so on, yeah.
We fair the council writes to the parish as much as we can to the parish every autumn to remind them that it's very important to clean the ditches out to allow the ditches to work as well as they can. You know, obviously the amount of rain that's fallen recently is, they say exceptional, but becoming ever the norm, unfortunately.
I think the reason why the reason why it might seem to have taken a long time is that it kept on raining. So while you're trying to pump it away, as soon as you pump it away, it comes back again.
Yeah.
And also, the responsibility in this case seems to be with a private here in culvert, which is really for the owner to deal with, but it wasn't in the Environment Agency, which is I and blasted it out. But we're not happy that it's cleared yet, so there's some more work going on to find out whether there's another blockage a bit further downstream, which is what I kept asking. Are you looking downstream? But yes, so that was over the weekend. In fact, they spent the night, one of those guys spent the night in his van one Friday night to make sure things would work out. It takes a while, but first of all, you have to find out where it is. And whenever it's flooded, it's not very easy to find out where it is. But also when it's not your responsibility. So in the end, the Environment Agency took the bull by the horn, if I can use that parallel, and decided to blast it out anyway. But whether they're going to send the bill to the owner or not, I don't know. But they are looking at another culvert, and I'm not quite sure which one it is, because they're not sure that the thing is totally clear. So that's what's going on. So that's as far as responsibility is concerned. As far as coordinating is concerned, well, it is coordinated because the County Council and the Environment Agency work very closely together on this. And the County Council, unfortunately, does not only have to deal with Sidlesham, but there's a much bigger one going on, at Shripney and Lindsay. So the same people who are here, I've been dealing with them on the phone while they're on the way between the two. And most of them are now on the 29 at Shripney and Lindsay. But they are still obviously keeping them on this one, and I've been in touch with them. And they told me today, as I just said, that the Environment Agency is still examining another culvert to see whether there is a further blockage. But it's a fact of physics that if there's a lot of water, if you pump it away somewhere, it'll come in from somewhere else. So, that's the situation that we deal with.
Yeah.
Jenny, I think, it's Jenny, isn't it? Yeah. I think, were you thinking that, am I thinking that what you were saying was that it was the culvert by the entrance to Bremen Lane that was particularly a problem?
Yes,
Now,
and it seems to be blocked with quite large debris.
That's right.
I'm not an expert, by the way, but just what I understand.
Yeah, and I understand that a local farmer had offered to clear that
And tried.
and was prevented from doing any more by the Environment Agency.
Well, I
Just
can't
give me
believe
that.
that.
No, I'm not asking you to, not comment on that later. I'm just adding
One at a
this.
I'm
time,
not
please.
aware of that.
The local farmer, Mr Monington, cleared it with his telehandler and a great big bulb of wood which he ran down. I've got photographic evidence. And I got the impression that he had taken over from the Environment Agency because...
I think he probably decided to do it himself because he'd been told not to. But that's not my, I don't have that in it.
Well, good for him, he told
Just
you.
make a comment, like on the ground, the people who were working together on the ground on the day were all working together. I mean, that's, I don't know if any of my other neighbours who often visited to see how things were going. And, when people were there, the instant they were doing their best with this and that. But I think it's more of a concern, it happened, responsibilities. And then, of course, once the culverts, as I understand it, maybe responsibility for people to clean around them and so on and so forth, would appear to be that there's large items became blocked in it.
Yeah.
And they clearly are not just kind of the debris from the old branch or leaf or whatever around it, but things that have come in the whoosh of rainwater, large pieces of
There were logs,
and so on and
there were
so
some
forth.
logs.
Pardon me?
I understood there were some logs that got down.
Yes, exactly. So therefore, what, I think from a community perspective, everybody would have to help members of the community to keep it clear, etc., etc. There will be situations where debris has come from elsewhere in large rainfall, etc. So one assumes that the authority, if it's WSCC or the EA, can support clearance, checking, maintenance of the culverts, which I believe are not all residential, under the kind of jurisdiction of the residents.
Well, the ones that are public, and they get dealt with, but the situation on the surface water is difficult to establish where the problem is, because it's underwater. And so that is part of the problem. So they have to assume certain places. And I've heard some only I don't want to go into facts that I'm not sure of, and certainly not into innuendo or somebody perverting something doing something else. That is what was done, and it was dealt with. As I said, they were on site and stayed overnight on Friday night and Saturday.
So I think we appreciate their help. I mean, there's
And
not a problem.
but as I say, they're not satisfied, and they're still looking further downstream on the right, because it crosses underneath the road near the school, and I think they're looking further downstream as well to see what we've got further, which are causing still traffic Keenall Lane and Blackley.
Peter, can I just clarify what you said about the landowner being responsible for the culvert outside his house where the drive is?
Well, I'm not naming any names,
No,
I'm
that's
naming
okay.
shaming, but if it is a private culvert, then they are responsible for it.
Is it a private culvert if it's on a defined river owned by the...
Yes.
It is a private culvert?
If it's a culvert.
Do you not think that the people that have the river there that built the house and put a pipe in to pipe the river under the...
Well, if you pipe it
They
would
must
be
have
worse, because you restrict it.
That
They
was
must
right
have
when
had
they were
the-
built.
They must have had the EA authority.
But that is why you have to get permission from the EA to do that.
Yes,
Because
that's
they
what
are
I'm
worried
saying.
that the pipe is too narrow.
Right,
might
there
be
was
too
one.
Where does the responsibility lie for clearing it? And surely you don't expect the householder to come out.
Well, don't argue with me. It lies with the household if it's a householder's culvert. It's not a kiln built by the Environment Agency. The Environment Agency is responsible for the right, for the river.
Yes.
No. And so if whoever is the owner, whether it's an owner or the county council or somebody else, they are responsible for keeping it clear.
Yeah, but you alluded to the fact that it was the house owner that owned that culvert. And I'm suggesting that maybe there's another owner in the EA.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it's privately owned.
Okay.
I think, come on.
One just last question. You've said that they are looking further downstream. Is it also worth asking? Because I know an individual can't interfere with riverbeds because you'll be prosecuted for doing so. So it's very important to understand what's river and what's not. And are the Environment Agency now then looking at the Rife to see actually has it not been excavated, if that's what they should be doing?
That's forgive the pun, further downstream. But at the moment they're checking whether there is another blockage because they're not satisfied
It's not
that it's
flowing.
running away from us.
Okay, so they are going to pursue it to the very end at some point, I take it,
Well,
that there's more
we'll have to
emergency
see,
work
but
at the
they've got
moment.
a lot to do because
Okay.
it's not just in Sidlesham, it's all over the
Of
place.
course. So perhaps in the summer
We're
we
building
could...
a bridge in Lindsay today
Right.
Yes.
to let people through because it's not going.
I think to generally, if you remember about 4 or 5 years ago, we got a very good grant of money from called Operation Watershed.
Yes, we did.
And we cleaned out a lot of the dikes, and every autumn we write to you to say, please make sure the dikes are as clear as possible. This is a flood-sensitive area. It's a swamp.
I'm glad you mentioned watershed because it's in the budget again for the same amount, £400,000 again
Okay.
for another year.
We'll put our state...
And that is really worth pursuing. I'm glad you mentioned it. And I'm going to repeat that another
I mean, the Sidlesham is a big area to start with.
Exactly.
We have a lot of rice running through it.
Yeah.
I would also say that even if your ditch is clear, have a look at your neighbour and help them as well. It is very important, this is a community effort, to keep it as clear as we can in difficult
You'll start
circumstances.
at the sea and then work your way that way.
Pardon?
I think